This job here is just to make it a little bit easier for the centre rod here, just to slide in and out of this sort of the piston housing. In a real shock absorber, what you'd be getting is the air the air or the liquid tries to force itself past the piston. There is air in here, but most of the shock absorbing is being done by the spring. So if you use it hard enough, then yes, the air damping probably has an effect, a small effect, but essentially it's just on a spring. That's all it's doing there. Right. I think the idea of this little sort of plastic washer is also perhaps to act as a little bit of an air dam. Okay, and that's the shock absorber complete. So the next job now is actually to mount these onto the chassis. This is bag part B, and is that as well. And put that back in there just for the minute, so I don't lose track of which bag is which. So we're going to be back with the chassis. So we're going to need out the spring holders, which I think are in this bag. Shock absorbers, yeah, and we're going to get onto the spring mounts. Okay. So we'll tip this bag out because this bag does contain most of the parts that I'm after. So we've got some hangers, of which there should be 4 of those, which there are. There's going to be 2 of the shock hangers. Okay, I don't need these parts just for the moment, I'll put those back. And from in this bag, what? Ah, good. The good bit then is I was looking ahead. I saw this next step, which has got some more of those bolt things on it, and I thought I didn't find them in the bag over there. That's because they're actually in the wrong. They're in a different. They're labelled MA17, but they're not in the bag A. They're in bag B. Just to catch you out. So these are MB10. These are the part of the hanger. So I want 2 of these. Then I'm going to want out. He says, let me put those back so I don't lose them. Now then, I need some nuts out of pack BA. That wasn't one of them. I want 2 lock nuts. On the left hand side here it tells you how many of each part that you need for your for this particular stage, so you don't have to sort of go looking in the picture and counting or anything like that. You can just go down a list here. So there are 2 of the flange nuts that I wanted, which were not the lock nuts which I said I was getting out. But I did happen to want 2 of those out. 2 lock nuts. Lock nuts have a little tiny plastic ring in them, which is what holds the nut onto it. So when you're using lock nuts, you don't need thread lock compound. So that's 2 of those, and then I need some plastic parts. You go in that bag, thank you. And I am now looking for the tree Q, which contains the plastic parts that I'm after. That's D. I think this is Q. It is indeed Q. They all have a flag on them, so Q there. So Q, me cutting some more things off here. So I want 1, 2. Although it tells you the metal parts you need, it doesn't tell you the plastic ones. Those you have to look at on here. So I need 2 of part Q5 and 2 of part Q4. So these are Q5 and they're Q4. Okay. One. 2. As I said on the last broadcast as well, don't bend these off, cut them off. If you bend them off, you can stress the part, you can damage it, and just generally you get a very unneat join where the join was, because she's kind of stretched and ripped the plastic. It doesn't look very nice. Put it with a pair of pliers, or if all else fails, a scalpel or something similar, but they're not a good idea. The side cutters are a lot better. And I need 2 BA6 bolts. I think I'm the nut. I keep calling nuts bolts nuts, and I think they're the long ones. Is it that one? It is. Yep, that's right. One thing you do have to be a little bit good at when you're reading these, looking at these things, is It's an exploded diagram, as they call it, so you've kind of got to be able to understand how things go together. They do tell you this, they'll show you lines where you put a this goes through, and then it goes through this, and then it goes through that, and then it goes through a little washer like this, and then it goes into the chassis, which is the other part that I need. And be a little bit careful. All the other diagrams so far I've been working with this chassis this way. This one's turned it round. And now what I'm going to do is find the right hole for this to go through. I know this has got to have a nut on the other end, so there's two here which is threaded and one that isn't, because I know I need a nut on the other end. I don't want to put it through the threaded one. Now this could get a little bit awkward trying to hold two things at once, and my fingers really aren't big enough, or rather small enough, to get in there. Time for a pair of pliers. And of course at this point in time I've got to put that on there, hold it in place, get a screwdriver for the other side, and try and hold it flat so you can screw this in a little bit. You can see how it gets quite fiddly doing this sort of thing. Now then, if I had a set of spanners out, which I don't, I'd hold that with a spanner. I really shouldn't be using these pliers, but they're my jewellery pliers. And again, this is a lock nut. Don't really want to crank it up. There's no real point to cranking it up. In fact, I've probably over-timed it a little bit too much there. It's not bad, because these things do need to move a little bit. So I'm going to just loosen it off slightly. They do need to be able to move slightly. Although I don't, yeah, that's not. I think I've got the wrong size there, because that's not locking into place. It's not in the lock nut. So I think I've got the wrong ones. MB10. MB10. It looked like the right one, but it's not. Okay, so just looking at that one against the diagram there, the thread is too short. I have the wrong one out, which is why I wasn't happy with that going in. It wants to be, is it that one? Yeah, it's that one. Okay. So all that trouble I went to try and get that to go in there, I've now got to take it out again. So what was happening there is, when I was screwing this bolt into that lock nut, it wasn't going in far enough to actually make contact with the blue locking ring. Which means it wasn't doing its job, basically, and that because I got the wrong bolt, I needed one with a longer, potentially I guess with a longer thread. And again, here we do the 6-fingered stuff. That is tricky. That was a little bit tricky. There we go. Nearly. And maybe I ought to get some spanners out actually, but generally speaking, you can do most of this sort of stuff without. Actually, he says, talking about getting spanners out, they provide one, and I think it fits. They provide a box spanner, which has got four sort of ends on it. I wonder which one's the right end. That one. Let go, thank you. So that makes life easier. It's also small enough to go in. There we go. Use the right tools. Life is easier. That would also have been an easy way of actually getting nearly. That goes round there, and that goes there. Of getting that nut on. No, you do not get trapped on there. That's one thing you got to be careful of, is those don't get trapped on the I'd say. There we go. These hangers here can sort of get trapped on there. Now these are loose, they're meant to be loose. Okay, the bolt actually can tighten up a bit more. The bolt will tighten up and those will stay reasonably loose. And okay, that's not going to go on anymore, and that's why it didn't tighten up. Okay, I will have to use a pair of pliers here now. That's it. So that bolt will tighten up against here because of the way in which there is a shoulder on the bolt which stops it in a particular position. The spacers here keep these two hangers spaced correctly apart, and they are meant to be loose because when what we're going to do is hang a spring from here over here somewhere, and if the spring compresses, these things move to allow the spring to bend. If they were solidly fixed, the spring wouldn't bend and you have no suspension at all. Now, having done one side, I have to do the other side the same. So one of those, one of them. Where is the bit that I've lost? It's there. That, and now I should be able to use this to help me put the hanger in. Where's it go? Hang on a minute, that does not look right to me. It is. This did not look to be in the right place. It looked to be too far this way. Optical illusion.